again, Struckpub. Today I'm bringing you a build for the Realm Master class, and this build I decided to call AoEs and Bleed. It's a kind of a bleeding version of my old AoE Master build. It's using predominantly skills from the lineage tree. So it's Blasting Charge, Pound, Hammer Spin, Ghost Train, and instead of the Sword Smash skill, now I'm using Spinning Blade. It's very nice, it can stack some nice vulnerability from Blasting Charge together with some bleeding and the massive damage from Ghost Train. Of course there's Hammer Spin that gives us extra mobility and can actually clear some of the trash mobs pretty easily, or just to let us move around from one pack to the other for a fast duration. And with Pound we have some extra stunning to everyone who's standing around us, so this is a very nice build and only needs 60 levels total to get it optimized to the maximum of its potential. So in order to max all skills in Lineage 3 you need 60 levels, like 30 in each frontier. For the relic setup, the skills you're seeing here are not the most optimal, so you might want to look on your left screen size to see two options. One of them would be an option using Spinning Blade. The other would be an option where we are not using Spinning Blade, so we are pumping 10 points in Blood for Blood to be able to unlock Rupture and the skills underneath it. This means we are saving a lot of points in regards to the cooldown or damage, and we're putting them into Blood for Blood. Of course, if you don't think you need health on kill while Blood Drinker is active, you can just pump up the bleed chance while it's active. Blood Pulse is very nice, that's why I suggest maxing out both modifiers for Blood Pulse, like increasing the healing from Blood Pulse and increasing the chance to drop a Blood Pool. It's a very solid option to have both of them, especially when you're doing maps with shit tons of monsters and you keep spawning those blood pools. Boiling blood is always a nice thing. Once we reach 30 points spent into the weapon, we unlock it, so it's pretty nice. So just decide whether you want to follow my build the way I've suggested. I'm giving you two options, but you can experiment and make it your own. Of course, this is not a must-have, a must-do. This is not the weapon that I like using with the class the most. I personally like using the Flaming Destroyer the most, but I wanted to make a build with the bleeding one. Later on I will be making one for the other weapons, so keep that in mind. A suggestion for the skills for this build would be something similar to this: Blasting Charge, Pound, Hammer Spin, Ghost Train and Spinning Blade with a basic attack added on the skill bar. Alternatively, you could try replacing something with Flying Picks, anything you don't think you need. If you use more Pound and Blasting Charge, you won't be able to use Ghost Train much. Then you might want to put Flying Picks. Alternatively, you can even put Flying Picks over here. But keep in mind you would be losing a lot of endurance if you are using Flying Picks, but nevertheless you would still need to max out Flying Picks. So regardless you use Flying Picks or not, I would still suggest maxing all those 5 skills. That's 60 points total. You would still have 40 left over, and this will be very easy to level up as a starter build for the class, because you only need 30 levels in each frontier to be able to achieve optimized version for this build. You don't need any of those skills for this build, so those you could just level up as an addition. I do like using build train together with shotgun car and flamethrower car, so I still can actually max out two very good builds with 100 skill points and still have like 3 points extra left that I don't need. So this is not a bad choice. Of course you would need, if you want to unlock shotgun car, you would have to invest 3 points in either mortar or shield car. But personally this is the AoE master, the AoE setup, and I think it works very great with Spinning Blade, and Flying Picks could be a good synergy, but when I tested it I didn't like it that much. I think it's much better to just focus on applying the bleeding via Spinning Blade. For the pet skills, I would suggest a setup that includes Deadlier Strikes, Screeching Stun, Healing Friendship, and Battle Cry. Those would be my preferred 4 skills of choice. If you don't have Deadlier Strikes, a very solid choice is Running Partner. This extra movement speed is very nice. If you don't have that either, then put whatever aura you've got. I would suggest instead of going for Defender, to put increased awareness, especially if you're using a shield. I decided to use a shield this time because I couldn't find a bleeding weapon, and you'll see in the gear selection more info about this. The gear selection would include, as you might have guessed, a weapon that has chance to bleed. I decided to go for an organ grinder. It's not a bad choice, the one I've got, but if you don't have an organ grinder with such rolls, you might want to go for something like a bloody rasp with chance to bleed, maybe even crit damage if you find it, or block chance, or bleed duration, or crit chance. Those are all nice mods for us. This is another one with flat damage and chance to bleed, without the bleed duration, but with good chance to immobilize, and a very nice sword as an alternative if you can't find a weapon with chance to bleed but you have an offhand like this one, but around your level with chance to bleed, then you can use sword that doesn't do bleed, but maybe one with a lot of flat damage or one with chance to block. Wingblade is the only sword with chance to block, and as for a sword with flat damage, it would look something like this. This gives me fire, another fire, and some physical. This is just purely flat damage without chance to bleed. Good options would be chance to shock, additional bolts fired on shock if you have an offhand with bleeding. But if you go that route to stack bleeding with shock, you might want some gauntlets with additional bolts fired on shock, or a shield with additional bolts fired on shock. So keep that in mind. Shock is also an option. Or you can go for a Railhammer with a chance to bleed. This one is one of the good legendaries that gives you crit chance, chance to bleed, and slow. So it's not a bad option. I just preferred using that extra HP, block chance, and chance to blind on block to combine it with an organ grinder. It seems like a very nice combo. This one seems to be a very glitched weapon. I wanted to show it because in my warehouse it showed relic weapon duration and relic weapon recharge upon killing an enemy. But look at that, the stat changes. Now it's undead defense. If I go to another item and go back to it, now it's attack speed. So I'm not sure whether this is a mechanic of the weapon or a bug, but look at it, it just keeps changing. I think it takes something from the last item you've viewed and just applies it. Let's see, HP. Yeah, it takes the top mod, so mana per second regen. There we go. So if you find something with a good top mod, you can just hover over it and it will give you that. Now it will be attack speed, like that. So if I find something with some relic weapon thingies, then it will give me that. But yeah, I couldn't demonstrate this. But it will be a great combo if you find things that modify both relic modifiers and you have a chance to bleed offhand. This is also an example of a legendary mace that gives bleeding, so keep that in mind. Other things worth mentioning would be a chance to bleed on any other gear such as the helmet, some bleed duration. As you see, I'm using on my shoulders and it does help. The gauntlets, I decided to get something with attack speed and gear luck. Never underestimate gear luck. I have it on the helmet, I have it on the gauntlets, it adds up, it helps. And attack speed helps if you're using the basic attack like I am. For the pet tags, Bloodlust tag is one of the best choices in my opinion, regardless of the build. It gives crit chance and crit damage, and if you get over 10% crit chance, 45 crit damage, you can stack 2 and you can have around 45% plus chance to bleed. This will be bleeding bonanza for your pet. Together with cover of the Goblin Hunter or any other cover that can give you chance to block, it will be very nice for your pet. As you see, gear wise, I'm using robust breeches that give base HP and crit chance and more HP. That's why I have 50,000 HP instead of using something like this with some flat damage and some defenses. For the armor, you can see I'm using something with flat damage. I do love flat damage on an armor and double the HP. But maybe if you find a robust or other type of armor that gives you health as the base, together with crit chance or crit damage and more health, it would be very nice. This is not a bad armor. Heavy defense, crit damage, health. Just find something good that both gives you a DPS boost and an HP boost. Don't go for just defenses. In regards to showing you some gameplay from the build, keep in mind there's different combos. One of them would be Blasting Charge followed by a Spinning Blade. It's nice. Or Blasting Charge followed by Pound. Or Blasting Charge followed by Ghost Train. A long combo would be Blasting Charge, then Spinning Blade, then Hammer Spin, and then a Ghost Train to top things off. You can even try doing Pound after that just to see whether you can finish off whatever's alive. Alternatively, you can set a Ghost Train flying in one direction, then you can push on the other direction with Spinning Blade, Blasting Charge and things like that. Or even go with Hammer Spin in a certain direction while DPSing with your other skills in another. So the build is very flexible and you can play around it. You see it's very fun. It's perfect for a melee oriented setup. A shorter combo would be Blasting Charge, Pound, Hammer Spin, or Blasting Charge, Hammer Spin, Pound, depending on the spread of the enemies. You could put as a fewer Spinning Blade anywhere you want it. Maxed out cooldown on Spinning Blade is 3 seconds cooldown. There's also Rapid Fire. It's great for killing off enemies from a long distance. It's also great for doing nice damage to a single target. Thanks for watching this video, folks. If you've enjoyed it, you can let me know by hitting that button, and if you want to be notified for future content that I'm uploading, you can hit the subscribe button as well. For more Torchlight Frontiers content, you can check the different playlists I have for builds for each of the classes. And in the description below this video you can find links to my Twitch, Twitter, Mixer and Facebook pages. You can also see those at the end of this video in the final sequence. Thank you again for watching this video and keep it cool, folks. Until next time.